Why, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Please get your coffee. There's donuts on the table over there. Get out your notebooks, your pens, and everything. We'll get right into it. This is an SCP that I have the pleasure of dealing with many times. I had to spend a lot of my training and intermediate research with this SCP, so I have a first class dealing with it. We'll just hop right into it, shall we? Today we're going to be going over SCP-060, Object Class, Keter. Special Containment Procedures list that the Grove, which contains the SCP, is currently contained in a series of specially constructed greenhouses at a satellite site, 66-060. Specimens are to be pruned regularly to keep them at a manageable size. SCP-060 specimens are to be watered twice daily and checked weekly for dead plant matter and saplings. Dead matter and saplings are to be pruned, shredded, and composted properly in the dedicated facility on site. Afterwards, returned to the SCP's containment chamber. Fragments of the SCP may not be moved off site for any reason without explicit written permission from 2 or more Level 4 personnel. In the event of a breach by the SCP-Alpha, personnel are to enter lockdown mode and activate on-site fire suppression systems. Redundant on-site fire suppression systems have been installed throughout the site, including water, chemical retardants. They to be utilized in tandem in the event of a containment breach. Portable extinguishers are to also be kept at the facility at all times. Containment Chamber 060 Alpha-001 is a dedicated circular containment chamber designed to contain the SCP-Alpha during testing. This chamber is constructed of 2 concrete 0.2 meter thick asbestos coatings with a series of chimneys to allow ventilation of heat during containment. The walls are fitted with 24 CO2 projectors evenly spaced at 45-degree angles along the walls and will activate in the presence of temperatures exceeding 200 degrees Celsius. 1 kilogram of the SCP-060 material is to be kept with containment in the containment chamber of 060-Alpha-001 and to be burned in the event of a breach. Description: SCP-060 is a grove of 17 white oak trees. The grove is spread across approximately 8 acres of rural northeastern Minnesota. A house on the property was demolished during the construction of the satellite site 66-060 after being combed by the Foundation personnel for information regarding the SCP. See the addendum below. When burned, SCP-060 will produce an entirely henceforth designated SCP-060-Alpha. When SCP-060-Alpha appears to be an inanimate adult human skeleton, standing approximately 2.3 meters tall and surrounded by bright white flames. SCP-060-Alpha initially burns at a temperature of approximately 1500 Celsius, or 2730 Fahrenheit, for all the Americans out there. Also, and it will attempt to cause as much damage as possible when active. Burning as little as 20 grams of the SCP will cause the SCP-Alpha to appear. Only one instance of the SCP-Alpha will appear at any time. It is theorized that the Alpha is a unique entity of its own. SCP-060-Alpha is extremely dangerous, having proven to be hostile and relatively intelligent. It appears to be a single recurring entity, and it shows a growing familiarity with the satellite site and the layout over the course of several manifestations. When given the opportunity, it will throw itself at flammable materials in an effort to cause damage, and assault personnel with a focus on grappling and strangulation. Additionally, it has proven capable of running speeds of up to 80 kilometers or 50 miles an hour in short bursts and leaping approximately 5 meters from a running start. Due to the extreme temperatures produced by the SCP-Alpha during the initial stages of the manifestation, along with its physical capabilities, it is capable of causing large, uncontrolled fires and widespread property damage if left unchecked. SCP-060-Alpha appears to be intentionally avoid burning the SCP-60 when it becomes active. If the SCP-Alpha is introduced to high enough volume of water or other flame retardant material over a short amount of time, it will begin to weaken to the point where it will collapse into dust. Collapse will occur suddenly without little warning. The SCP-Alpha will continue to pose a threat until its collapse. The volume of suppressive material required to subdue the Alpha SCP is marked less than it would be expected to quench a heat source of its intensity, with approximate volumes of around 500 liters to be proving sufficient in previous testing. Areas burned by the SCP-Alpha will begin to yield sapling instances of the SCP-60 over the following 4 to 6 weeks. Only one wave of sapling growth will follow any given containment breach, and only one is thought to inherit anomalous properties of the primary tree. It is difficult to determine safely if this is the case. However, as such, containment protocols assume that all white oak trees that sprout within a reasonable distance from the SCP-60 are assumed to be also from the same SCP. Later saplings are to be easily pulled and should be composted and supplied to the SCP's normal containment chambers. Perfect. The last we have on the file is the additional information regarding the SCP. The property containing the SCP contained a burned-out, secluded house upon the Foundation acquisition. According to the civilian sources, the house's previous owner was Jonathan Cornhill, who was reported to have been somewhat solitary eccentric, with a tendency towards bitterness and nihilism. Mr. Cornhill was reported as a missing person in the late 1996, several months after having suddenly cut off all ties to family members and friends. The last person to have contact with Jonathan Cornhill was his brother Christopher via a telephone call. According to his brother, Cornhill had developed an interest in the study of Victorian-era occultism. Furthermore, he reported that Jonathan Cornhill had seemed normal up until that phone call, at which point he told Christopher to never contact him again. Later in the year, a mail carrier visited to the home to deliver a notice of foreclosure, finding it instead burned out of the shell. Examinations showed that the fire began in the living room in the general vicinity of the fireplace. It is now assumed that the SCP-060-Alpha manifested within the house while Cornhill burned the SCP-60 in the fireplace. Considering SCP-60's Alpha's nature, why the house was not entirely destroyed during this alleged manifestation is not really unknown. No human remains were found within the structure. Jonathan Cornhill's whereabouts and whether he is dead or alive are currently unknown. And that's all we have for today's reading. I know the table in the back are going to actually go out there to Minnesota and help do some testing over there, so I will be accompanying you. Please, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you'd like to go on an expedition with me, feel free to let me know, and we can definitely go on some sites. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.